Welcome back to the Champagne Empress podcast, where we talk about love, life, beauty, and luxury, and what it actually means to move through this world as a woman who knows herself. I'm your host, Georgette, and today we're doing a clarity episode because I have been watching women, smart, beautiful, ambitious, accomplished women, walk into situationships, settle in their relationship, and feel constantly disappointed by people who do not meet their standards. And when I did a deep dive of this, I look closer, the problem is actually not the other person. The problem is that you don't actually know the difference between your values, your standards, and your preferences. You have been using all three words like they mean the same exact thing, but they do not. And more than that is that you have been entering every situationship, every date, every relationship, leading with the wrong one entirely. And today we're going to fix that for good. So you don't have to enter anything further, relationship, situation, without clarity of which one is actually leading the show. So I'm going to break it down in the simplest way I know, okay? When it comes to values, standards, and preferences. When we talk about value, a value is a belief. It's a principle you live by. It's the why behind every single thing you do. Values actually lives inside of you. There's no negotiating it. It's not situational. They are the foundation of who you are. And when we think about standards, right? A standard is a behavior. It's the lived expression of your value. So it's actually what you do and what you require others to do in alignment with that belief. Because standards are action, they're actionable. You stay and you observe and you can point them out. Now let's talk about preferences. A preference is a desire. It is what you want, but it's not a deal breaker. It's the cherry on top, the crème de la crème. It enhances your experience, but its absence doesn't actually compromise your core. And I'm going to show you what it looks like because I'm going to use some of my values as example because I feel like it will land a little bit differently when it's real. And I want you to understand how that feels like when you're entering situationships or relationships based on those three. So I have 8 core values, okay? And we're going to see how we put them in action. My values are freedom, family, health, success, learning, integrity, adventure, communication. Some people might say, oh my gosh, she has so many values. But those are important to me. And also, my top 3, honestly, do not change. The other ones switch around a little bit based on the season you're in. Actually, when my kid was a little bit younger, family was top priority on my value list. So then today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk you through 3 of them and show you exactly how each one becomes a standard and then where the preference lives underneath it. And if you don't know what your core values are, what you're living by, the reason why you show up in the world, I want you to stop and I want you to go and solidify what your core values are. Select 5 to 6 core values and live by them. And here's the thing, when I was deciding on my core values, and it was always family, this and this and that, the things you hear that society wants you to put on top. It wasn't until I unlearned who I was, I went through the unlearning phase of my life where I came to terms of the fact that freedom is actually my number 1 core value. And I didn't care if I was judged by so-and-so, whoever, feel like family should be first. Freedom was my number 1. And it's still my number one. This is the reason why I do a lot of things. This is why I structure my life the way I structure it. When it comes to family, when it comes to my career, when it comes to everything else down the line. And then family is my second. And interestingly enough, those two actually work very closely together because I need freedom to spend more time with my family. I need freedom to show up for my kid the way I want to show up for him. I need more freedom to give him experiences that I want to give him. So today I'm going to walk you into each one and see how it works. So let's talk about freedom, okay? One of my values is freedom, and I believe in a life designed on my own terms. I believe in autonomy and my career and a relationship as a lifestyle, okay? Freedom is not just something I want. It is something I live. It's not I wake up and I desire freedom. My entire core is built on freedom. So then when we think about the standards of what it looks like in a partner to avoid misalignment in partnership, I look at he needs to have flexibility, like real flexibility. Not just that I have to ask my boss and see. Not just I can't, I have to work. Yes, we understand everyone has to work. I choose a career that I could have the flexibility in, right? And I would love that in a partner. And I would like if we can squeeze in a lunch on a Monday, we can do that. And if a weekend getaway presents itself and I want him to be able to move, and he's not shackled to a schedule that makes spontaneity impossible. And he's open to relocating, to travel, to building a life that doesn't have rigid walls around it. Now we understand there's different seasons, especially when starting a business or the stage of parenthood, etc. But this is why this is important to know what the values are, right? So we could find ways to be flexible in other ways. That is the standard, okay? It is behavioral. It is non-negotiable. So now let's talk about the preferences, okay? My preference, personally, I prefer a man who is not in a traditional 9 to 5. Someone whose time is his own because he built it that way. That's the preference, okay? It's not a deal breaker if he has a career with structure. Absolutely not. And let's just say if he works within the hours of a 9 to 5, but the standard is that structure never becomes a cage for our life together. Okay? So now you understand a little bit of what that looks like. So let me give another example when it comes to my family value. I believe that family is everything. I've seen people and they're like, oh, I don't talk to my family. Like, what? Family is everything. It is a foundation. It is a support system. It is where you come from and what you're building towards, right? And when it comes to my standard, when it comes to that value, I require a man who honors his family, who loves family time, who's close to his own people. And if for whatever reason that relationship is complicated or distant, he understands that he is walking into a family, my family, and he will embrace that. He will become part of it. He will understand that family support is not optional in my world. It is everything. That is the standard, and it's non-negotiable. All right? The preference, however, is a man who already has that warmth, who already shows up for Sunday dinners, who calls his mother, who has the niece and nephews he adores. And of course, that's what I'm drawn to. The standard is the value alignment, not the specific picture that I decide I want to paint for the men, right? I'm used to this type of men, so it makes sense for me. So it becomes a preference, but that's not a deal breaker if it shows up in a different way. And that's where we have to keep our mind open, because sometimes someone shows us a different way to be with the alignment of the same values. So then let's just go into the third example. I value adventure. One thing I live by, I believe life is meant to be lived fully, embodied, boldly, okay? With curiosity and openness and a willingness to say yes to things you've never done before. Whether it is food, travel places, a different culture, I want you to be open-minded when it comes to that. So my standard when it comes to that, I require a man who is open to new experiences, right? Who is not stuck in his own ways. No, I only like American food, or I only like Chinese food. I want a man who doesn't need everything to be familiar and comfortable before he'll try it. Okay? Someone who will try food from my culture without making a face, without saying, oh my gosh, what is this? Oh my gosh. Someone who will say yes to the trip, the restaurant, the experience, even if it's new territory. There's something so sexy about that. Okay? I am here to live life. So that is the standard when it comes to adventure, is the action, right? Someone takes towards valuing adventure. You can't tell me you value adventure and you're not willing to try something different. So the standard is very simple. It's growth oriented, it's open, it's alive. Because I want to feel alive. I want to be alive with someone when I'm sharing life with you, with or without you, actually. So my preference will look like a man who is already well traveled, who initiated the plans, who has a list of restaurants he wants to try, places he wants to go, like different things he wants to experience that will make me go, ooh la la. That's delicious. That's the dream. So you understand the adventure is the value. The standard is the openness to new things, the willingness, the aliveness, and the preference can show up in any different ways. Okay? It could be that he's open. Let's just say he's open to be well traveled. Let's just say he doesn't have step in his passport yet, but he's open, he's willing. In a true willingness, not for my sake. So now that we understand how the values, the standard, and the preferences work, let's talk about how are you entering. And what I mean by that is, I want to talk about something that nobody's saying out loud. And it is the real reason so many women are ending up in the wrong relationships, right? How are you entering really? When you meet someone new, when you're on the apps, when you're on a date, when you're actually in the talking stage, what is leading you? What are you saying yes to? Because here's what I see consistently right now. You are entering with your preferences. And that's where it all goes wrong. You go in backwards. For example, you're fixated on how tall he is. Oh, he has to make this much money. He has to drive a Maserati. He has to look this way. And you call it having standards. You post about it. You're proud of it. But then you're 6 months in, completely attached to a man who checks every box on that preference list. And he doesn't communicate. He's emotionally unavailable. He has no vision. He doesn't honor you. He doesn't align with anything you actually believe in. But yet he made your preferences and you're confused. You're like, oh my gosh, but he's my dream man. And you feel hurt. You feel like you did everything right. You didn't do anything wrong with your preferences. The preferences are fine, but you led with them. You filtered with them. You made them the entire door when it's actually the cherry on top, remember? And you never once ask, does this man share my values? Does he believe in freedom the way you do? Does he honor family the way you do? Is he open and alive and growing the way you are? You have to lead with that. Another preference, okay, because we talk about when it comes to health, oh, I want a fit person. But the value is health. We want someone healthy. The standard for them is maybe moving around, dancing. Your standard might be, I'm going to go to the gym. You both will be fit, but the way it shows up will be different, because then you can't say, I prefer someone who goes to the gym 5 days a week. Maybe that person's preference is to dance 5 days a week, but you're leading with the preference in terms of, oh yeah, I want you to go to the gym with me, when you should be leading with the value health. I want us to make healthy decisions because we want to live a full life. So when you lead with your values, you filter completely differently. You're not just looking at what he has, you're looking at who he is. And those are two entirely different questions. The preference tells you what he looks like on paper. You ever told yourself, oh, he looks good on paper? We love that. The value actually tells you whether he can actually hold space for your life. And that's where we go wrong. We have to go in looking for someone who can actually hold space for us. Emotionally, spiritually, physically, however that looks like. Can he hold space? So here are the questions I want you to ask, okay? 3 simple questions. I want you to take any word you use to describe what you want in love, in life, in yourself, and ask 3 questions. Number 1, do you actually live this? If it's truly a value, it shows up in your daily life, not just when it's convenient, not just when someone is watching. If you say you value peace, are you creating peace in your home, in your mind, in your choices? And it could look like, I value peace, therefore, I do not choose men who interrupt that peace. I come home to a peaceful home. The way I communicate is peaceful. How do you show up in that? Do you live by it? And second question, can you name the behavior that proves it? If it's truly a standard, you can point to it. You can say, this is what I do, and this is what I require. So let's just say, in order to keep your peace, you could meditate so you could communicate better, so you could show up more peaceful, whatever. If you can't name the behavior, it's not a standard, it's a wish. And question number 3, would its absence be a deal breaker or just a disappointment? This is a preference question. If he doesn't have it, are you walking away? Or are you just a little sad that he doesn't have it? If the answer is just disappointed, that's a preference. And I want you to honor it, but don't weaponize it. So I want you to get out of the confusion, because confusion is costing you. When you confuse preferences for standards, you become rigid about the wrong things. You are here requiring a specific height, a specific income bracket, a specific aesthetic, and calling it having standards. And I'm going to call you out on it. But then you're tolerating inconsistency, emotional unavailability, and a man who doesn't truly see you, because those things aren't on your visible checklist. Those are not standards, Empress. That is a shopping list. And on the other side, when you confuse standards for value, you become a woman who talks about what she believes but never enforces it. You say loyalty is your value, but you keep accepting breadcrumbs. You say you value your peace, but you keep engaging with chaos. The value without the standard is just a preference for how you wish your life looked. It means nothing until it shapes your behavior. So now that you know how to reassess how you're showing up in your life, either from your value, your standards, and your preferences, I want you to lead your life in a meaningful, powerful way. So here's what I want you to leave with today. Your values are your foundation. Protect them fiercely. You're gonna have to go out there and live them daily, because then they're not values. Never compromise for anyone on your values. Your standards are your protection. They are the practical behavior expression of what you believe. If you don't enforce them, you don't actually have them. That's where the standards come from. So when we say we have standards, it's really enforcing the values. Your preferences are beautiful. They are allowed. They are yours. But they are not the whole story. And they were never meant to be the filter through which you eliminate real love. And the next time you walk into something new, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what am I leading with right now? Because the Empress doesn't lead with the checklist. She leads with her values. She moves with her standards. And she allows her preferences to be the beautiful bonus they were always meant to be. And I want you to know the difference. And then live the difference. All right, Empress. Thank you for being here with me today. And if this episode cracks something open for you, I want you to share with a wonderful woman who needs it, because we're here to rise together. Because she's probably out there enforcing the wrong things and wondering why love keeps missing her. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, Empress.